a new chapbook I'm working on called Circling Planes. I spent vernissage circling planes with Merwin and O'Connor. When writers worry, they do God's job, she said to Bill, who replied, each stone leads back to a mountain. I couldn't keep up with this conversation even if I weren't 4 shots down on an empty stomach and hadn't been drunk the night before with E.E., who told me, live by love, though the stars walk backwards. Accepting oneself does not preclude an attempt to become better, she said, adjusting those crazy-ass glasses. Here's our drinks, I boast and declare, no longer the dumber of the 3. A lot of these poems are going to have to do with trains because my wife and I have been going back and forth to New York City a lot lately for different reasons. And I took a trip down there just last week, and this is called Secondhand. I'm in the seat behind the cat people, so imagine my joy to overhear how Buzzy reacts to the boroughs. He sneezes in the Bronx. He pisses in Manhattan. He shits on Staten Island. Good for him, I say. Tizzy shrinks from dogs, all dogs, big dogs, small dogs, linear, lost. Suzzy was a rescue and still has reservations. The Persian piddles in his sleep. The rag doll sings that streetwise song. If this were an express, perhaps it wouldn't be so bad. But I jumped on the local. Glenwood, Greystone, Ludlow, organic litter trays. I'm writing this poem as they speak, word for word for word. So excuse me, my iambics. It's all just secondhand. Thank you. Thank you. There was a fire truck in the yard and a screaming in the distance. I had just polished the driver's side when the phone rang. A fossil fear froze me. I was the rookie and not good with maps, so I let it ring until it stopped. Yesterday, while dumping lawn cuttings behind the shed, I flashed upon Mr. Kelly, my grade school janitor, dusting another pile of puke from Miss Norton's 3rd grade classroom. Whenever she quizzed us on math, Lefty Diaroca tossed his Cheerios, while all the girls cried, yeah! And held their noses. Lenny Cohen, a really strange kid I recently recognized from the bank fraud hearings, tallied each soggy, soupy O. You'll never know when your past will prod, and you're never prepared when it does. It follows you like the funny heartbreak induced when the days behind outnumber those ahead, when love's dispatch is all you seek. Adrift. Adjective and adverb. In a drifting state. Drifting. Uncertainty, incertitude, and doubts. Doubtfulness and dubiousness, hesitation, suspense, perplexity and embarrassment, a dilemma, a bewilderment, a puzzle, a quandary, timidity, etc., and fear. Vacillation, wavering in termination, vague, hazy, foggy, an obscure ambiguousness, an open question, a blind bargain, a pig in a poke and a leap in the dark. A fallibility we all feel, an unreliability we all untrust. A precariousness. I hesitate when I'm adrift. I flounder. I miss my way. I wander aimlessly. I beat about, I lose myself, I lose my head, and I perplex those around me, and I pose, I puzzle, and confuse, and confound, and bewilderment, and doubt, etc., etc., etc. I'm uncertain, unsure, casual, random, and aimless, and doubtful, and dubious, and secure, and unstable. I'm indecisive for sure, and irresolute, and unsettled, and decided, and determined, and questionable, experimental, and tentatively tentative. I'm vague, indefinite, ambiguous, equivocal, undefined, confused, and mysterious, cryptic, and veiled obscurity. I'm undefinable. I'm oracular. I'm perplexing, enigmatic, and paradoxical. Apocryphal and problematic. Cantankerous, goddammit. fallible, questionable, debatable, untrustworthy, unreliable, and irresponsible. So, don't deal with me when I'm puzzled or pickled and perplexed, or I'm lost, adrift, at sea, at fault, at loss, or I'm at my wit's end, distracted and distraught and adrift, adrift, adrift. Thank you. This is one of those ones where they say it's based on a true story. And this is called The Fluke That God Threw Back. Did I ever tell you the time I died for 36 seconds and the light streamed forth from an ocean of beryl, and right before it engulfed me, it whiplashed back? So here I am, the fluke that God threw back. This is called Punchline. A rumpled scholar and a small-talk mendicant roll into a bar. Their bluster broken by a redhead, her lubricant bewitching. Her sister, sworn to secrecy, begs many a tactile favor. Their reprisals concussive, their morphine spills. And if you're waiting for the punchline, the time for jokes is over. Thank you. Due to several highly charged geomagnetic storms, the atmospheric temperature spike that occurred the other day will continue to occur, like it or not. Because as the sun's activity ramps up, hurling magnetized chunks of plasma and solar winds our way, our thermosphere heats up, and so we turn the AC up. And we turn the AC up. And we turn the AC up. And I hack away at the tree of heaven, confident it will grow back, give fruit, lift me when I fall. Vigorous, invasive, derived from the one, its descendants like sand. A derelict species nested upon branch I cut. Burn the leaves, the embers fly, the roots remain. There's another one that actually happened while I was in the city. I had about an hour or so to kill before getting on the next train. So I thought, good time for a vodka and ice. Why not, And I went to this bar on 40th Street, right on the corner of 40th and Lexington. And here's the story. And this is called Worst Song Ever. Why, oh fucking why, would you make the worst song ever even louder? What mad dash towards destiny is that? Don't our sensory what-nuts take abuse given the screaming society we populate? The dissonant ring of daily coinage we sell to the lowest bidder? Kenny G, Kenny Loggins, Kenny Rankin, Kenny Rogers. It's a Kenny, I know, she says. Or the backwood Irish bar lass who just filed for U.S. citizenship. She's asking about Loretta Lynn at the moment, but I'm just here for a very short while like all the rest of us, hoping to catch the next Hudson line home. Thank you. This is called Impossible Transportation. Like Lucifer in the Lost Moon sulks behind the sour gum, you and your impossible transportation come out of nowhere with the halothane vapor and envelop the whole city in a broom of nostalgia, a fog of remorse, a mist of mishap no one implies. But the evil intent of this poem is, however thin, never lost to a carnivore like you. Eager, engaging to dupe the dupable masses into believing that this faceless adventure in the wake of the wheel was nothing more than the grinding and groaning of contrary men commanding a dying planet, even as we speak. Thank you. I kind of like the title of this one. It's called The Charming Ineptness You've Taken to Heart. The charming ineptness you've taken to heart is a dominant family trait that traces back to 1827. When the first confirmed sighting of someone from my side of the family was seen on the streets of New York wearing corduroy in a bowler near the grace of Trinity Church. Panning for gold like everyone else, Grandpa the First had a certain laissez-faire that charmed the ladies and chilled the police. So he moved about town like gaslight through the mortar of a behemoth. Grandma the First held her own in the tenement circles, And she raised the next in line to teach the next in line how the world truly worked and what to do if it didn't. Without war, make music. Without hate, say kind words. Without fear, live a good life. And this got passed on and passed on through the roil and rumble of a city thriving, pretty much intact, though tested these days, when men seek to destroy a world that has passed them by, when war devours our foreign sisters, when even the most even-minded is locked into hand-to-hand. On the tail end of a zombie retreat back home for a 3-day, the 1043 lurches from its hole on Park Avenue into the blinding, though expected glare, expected because this ain't my first 1043 back home, to flash me back to East 138, teeming with dreams and the mugger's kin, altar boy, paper boy, Sebby's boy, Mary Alice kissed me, and boom! I'm still riding the 1043 above Van Cortlandt, no burrow too far to play in its field. And what haven't I done in the moments between Marble Hill and Sing Sing, the gray river framing its haunted walls, and find myself still throwing shade on my notebook, joyfully telling this moment to you on a 1043 back home. Thank you. Being that these are train pieces, this is called Train. Not much about this train ride from country to city and back again has changed in my 62-year commute. Sure, the times are more horrid and the language more insulting, and there's more expensive parking than affordable housing, and more dogs and more bikes and more cracking bandwidth as creators and influencers shout quatrains at a sullen moon. And sure, the world, like the tracks under Park, is in desperate need of infrastructure money, and there's babies crying and babies screaming and drunks cursing because the Yanks lost, and soon the whole island will sink under the weight of its own impertinence. But that's for another day. Another rant about the river jeweling in the tricky sun, the small towns that were, rolling past, the kid at the window, watching the world go by. Thank you. This is called Remake. Bounding down yon generations in a city as big as the stage, this remake of The Charlatan's Ruse has the orchestra blowing Dizzy, Charlie, and that Coltrane kid, with a cast of characters without award. A lady of means, but not many. The heroic waif, still nameless, and the sheriff of Clothespin, Illinois, played by a man on the run for the role of a lifetime. There was no actor anywhere better than the Jack of Hearts. Oh yeah, Bob? Then step aside and let this student of Stuyvesant's method scuttle the storyboards. Begin at the end where the mortgage is due and the chips are down, and cut to that song about the dad-do, 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 and the dance craze that followed. The broken cards, the broken cast, the minor strobe and marrow. From behind a pine tree, the waif calls out to the darkness for light. And the sheriff, he wasn't a man at all. I worked for a long time, 29 and a half years. I worked for a while with the nameless phone company, and it was nothing but wires and wires and wires and wires. And I just felt like my whole life has been nothing but wires as I look on the stage and there's wires. And this is called Man of Wire. I swore to the high heavens and the depths below that once I got out from under the recording studio and the rock and roll roadie work, I'd never work with wires again. But after 2 years of pushing paper, I returned, though reluctantly, to wire. Hundreds of them, thousands of them, color-coded, color-faded, rat nest manhole wires, pigeon shit squirrel bit wires, all to bring dial tone, or at least what passed for it, to the wanton masses. Then pixels in code through fiber that look a lot like wire, only thinner, for 28 years. And after that, I swore again to the highs and lows of good and evil, but to no avail. There I was, running wires again, this time for nonprofits, electrical, audio, video, wires and cables and wires, 58, 59, 60, 61 plus 7 in 6 months, raveling, wrapping, rolling, raveling, wrapping, rolling, raveling, wrapping, rolling wires. these, I'm going to close with these two. This one really is true, okay? And it's called Tight Sweaters. The Army Tactical Brassiere promises to reduce the cognitive burden on its female soldiers. And if I was 50 years younger, I'd make that promise too. But is it bulletproof, you ask? And that's a good question, which may or may not be answered here or at any other point in this poem, seeing how it's all fiction anyway, save for every man's forever war with breasts. Ally, diplomat, paramour, foe, hapless, helpless, hopeless, predator or prey. Born long before 2018 under the anagram biometric algorithm monitoring Brassiere, man's general unease with breasts starts with mom's oxytocin and runs downhill from there. Peasant tops, tight sweaters, a black low cut with pearls yanks our brains akimbo, and we fumble and we foil, and so it is, and so we are, and no, they are not bulletproof. My last one for this evening, and that will hopefully close the chapter, is called Lip Reads. And you know how they're always sending things to the moon like time capsules? This is called Lip Reads. Those aren't my poems in the lunar cortex, nor my songs. But that's all right, it's no big deal. Mine is meant for rooms like these, where we gather to decode the alien language that half our countrymen swear to. My songs are meant to sung by the voices no one hears or lip reads. They're chord and rhyme sung once, sung twice, maybe 3 times if someone's listening. If my poems ever make it to the moon, they too will become the dust of things, exactly as they should.